Is this really the best riding pickup truck in the market? Let's find out. So welcome to another first ride review episode here on Ride By, and today we have the updated Nissan Navara. And no, it's not just any Nissan Navara, it's the Pro-4X variant. So the Pro-4X, what is the Pro-4X? Think of it as your Toyota Hilux Conquest 4x4, your Triton Athlete, or your Ranger Wildtrak 4x4. Not the Raptor, because I believe the Raptor is its own thing, but that's a story for another time. Now back to the Pro-4X. What's new? What's not so new? Let me show you around. So starting with the front, they've chiseled the front fascia down a little bit. It still looks familiar, but they gave it a more angular, a more aggressive aesthetic. So starting with the headlights, they've changed it up a bit. They've put the DRL here, mas angular na siya. Tapos it continues down here to look more like the Patrol. And then they've added these 4 projector lights. The 2 at the bottom illuminate as your low beam. The top 2 are your high beams. And then the grille, it's now big and black. So dati kapantay niya lang yung headlight dito, tutuloy lang siya pa ganon. But now it sprawls lower into the bumper. Speaking of the bumper and the hood, they've changed the contour slightly, again to make it more angular, more aggressive. And then you get this plastic bash plate looking thing here. But again, it's plastic, it's not gonna protect your car from mga bato, ganyan, when you go off-road. Now, moving on to the side, nothing much has really changed, no? So, except for these gloss black accents here on the door handle, the side mirror, and the roof rail. These roof rails are functional, by the way, exclusive to the Pro-4X, so you can mount an awning right here, throw on roof rails, so you can pack anything and everything you need for your adventure or your overlanding trip. Yeah, they've also added these fender flares. So yung fender flares, they're so easy to overdo, you know, with those Allen bolts na parang bushwhacker, wrinkled finish, ganyan. But Nissan has done well. They've done it elegantly. Manipis lang siya, very simple, with this red accent up top. And it really just accentuates the wheel well a little bit. Now with the Pro-4X, you get gloss black wheels. These are 17 inches instead of the 18-inch wheels that you get on the VL 4x4. I assume this is because this has off-roading intentions. So it comes with Yokohama Geolandar all-terrain tires stock. So para sa mga ganitong lugar, pwede mo na siyang dalhin agad kahit na wala kang upgrades dahil naka all-terrain na siya. Pero tingnan lang, medyo maliit siya, 255, 65, 17s. So you could upgrade to a full 33-inch tire, 265, 275 na 65 or 70 series for a bit more sidewall. Yan. Most people know also na 6x114 ang PCD ng Navara. So if you want to change to aftermarket wheels, your options might be a little limited, but new options are coming out every day. Now that brings us to the back of the Navara. Alright, now dito naman sa likod, again, still very familiar but slightly different. They've changed the taillight a little bit. It's the same general shape, but they've added this LED strip na to just to give it a more modern aesthetic. They've changed the tailgate up also. So dati, if you can remember the pre-facelift Navara, meron siyang parang inverted trapezoid na nakastamp dun sa sheet metal and then nandun sa loob yung emblem, no? Ngayon, they've gotten rid of that. And then they've stamped the Navara nameplate here at the bottom in this nice little crevice here. Yan. The emblem is now black, gloss black, with the red Nissan lettering. You be the judge if you like that or not. And then they've also changed the top portion of the tailgate. So dati, meron na talaga to, parang it flares out a little sa taas. Pero dati kasi, it was an add-on plastic piece. Tapos yung taas niya was hard black plastic, no? So you could hang stuff over it kahit walang without anything protecting it. No, you could put long items, halimbawa 2x4, buong PVC pipe, ganyan. Patong mo dito, hindi ka nag-aalala na masira or ma-dent yung tailgate. Kasi plastic nga siya eh. Pag nasira mo, palitan mo na lang. So ngayon, it's part of the bodywork. This thing is part of the bodywork now. It's sheet metal, painted sheet metal. So a little more high maintenance. Mas mag-aalala ka na you might dent this, you might scratch this. And it's a bit of a downgrade to me, to be honest. But it is what it is. Now, moving on to the tailgate itself. It's not dampened on the way down, as you can see, but it is assisted on the way up. Yan. So, sa loob naman yung bed niya, this is a plastic bed liner. And then, it's a fairly standard bed, nothing fancy inside. No? You get 4 tie-down points in total, 2 on each side of the tailgate, dito sa may bukanan, and then 2 dun sa likod. No? Ngayon, when it comes to size, this bed is actually one of the smaller beds in the market today. That's because the Navara is actually one of the smaller pickups in this segment. No? So if you look at the numbers, we'll flash the figures somewhere here on the screen for the bed and for the overall dimensions of the truck. And then you can compare those numbers with its competition and you will see talaga na mas maliit siya ng konti, no? So the bed is a little shorter, a little narrower, but sa height naman, minsan pumapantay siya dun sa mga iba or mas matangkad siya dun sa mga iba. No? So again, very simple, nothing fancy, no side steps to get in, nothing to pull out of the tailgate, just your standard bed. Now, you'll also notice na wala siyang fashion bar, unlike the Navara Sport dati na may malaking fashion bar dito. Some people will like that, some people won't. Personally, I think it's a cleaner look and I do appreciate that. Now, going back to what I said in the intro, is this really the best riding pickup truck in the market? So what makes the Navara different ba? For that, we have to look down here. Okay, so pag sumilip kayo dito, the first thing you will see is ito, meron siya stabilizer link dito. No, pag sinundan niyo siya, pababa, you'll see a stabilizer bar here that goes across to the other side. And then sa likod nun, you'll see na may coil spring dyan. So, most pickups usually have leaf springs, what they call leaf springs, or sa Tagalog, muelye. No, kasi yung mga muelye, you typically find that in heavier duty vehicles. So, yung mga truck, nakamuelye yan. Yung mga jeep na nasasakyan natin, nakamuelye yan. Yun nga, other pickups usually, nakamuelye din. They're built for heavy payloads, they're more rigid, they're more sturdy. Ngayon, yung mga coil springs, you'll see those coils on lighter duty vehicles such as sedans, crossovers, and the likes. So the benefit of a coil spring naman is it's a lot more plush, it's a lot more cushier, much more composed on the road. That's why these lighter duty vehicles, these crossovers, these sedans ride much better than your typical pickup. But with the Navara, you get coil springs, so the Navara benefits from the more comfortable ride of coil springs. And also, you don't have to compromise on payload capacity. It used to be that the Navara's payload capacity was slightly below 1,000 kilos, and that was really because of the coil springs. Now, Nissan has upped the payload capacity to 1,017 kilograms, which is a little over 1 ton. So you don't have to compromise on that. Pwede mo pa rin kargahan to ng mabigat and kakayanin pa rin niya. So later, we'll find out if it really does ride better than other pickup trucks in the market. But for now, let's look at the interior. And now inside, you'll see that Nissan really did a lot of work to improve the Navara's interior, no? So, looking at the dashboard, dati yung dashboard ng pre-facelift Navara, it wasn't really that interesting to look at. There's a lot of hard black plastic, medyo featureless siya, shapeless, ganun. But this one is much better, much nicer. They've limited the use of black plastic, the hard black plastic, to the top of the dashboard. And then they've tweaked the whole thing a lot, no? So, like, starting with these aircon vents, dati mas makita niyo yung aircon vents pero mas matangkad. Tapos, kabilaan silang ganyan. Pero parang square lang sila eh. So, it left this blank, large blank here na plastic din, na hard black plastic din. Na yung hazard button lang yung laman, medyo pangit tignan. So, ngayon, they've stretched the vent out, made it narrower, made it slimmer to make space for this 9-inch TFT screen. So this Infotainment screen is very crisp, very nice, very responsive then. Now it has Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and then yung 360-degree cameras nito, you can see it here, and several other functionalities. Sadly though, wala siyang wireless charging dito. Wala siyang wireless charging pad dito. This would have been a perfect space. So kahit na may wireless Apple CarPlay or wireless Android Auto ka, kailangan mo pa rin magsaksak dito sa USB-C or USB-A port para mag-charge. Moving on, dito sa gauge cluster naman, the gauge cluster, they've chosen to retain the twin pod design. So you get an analog tachometer and an analog speedometer, and then the temperature gauge and the fuel gauge are embedded inside those two pods. But in the middle, you get a 7-inch full-color display. This is a multi-information display, so you can see your driver assistance settings, kung ano yung active, ano yung hindi active, your trip meter, a compass in there even, some other vehicle settings. Ayan. So moving on, they've also added this soft leather insert here with red contrast stitching. So it looks a little more premium. And then they've changed up the aircon controls also. Dati, gloss black buttons lang to, tapos may chrome strips, kanyan. Very simple. Now, they've upgraded that. They gave you 2 dials. Nice click to them. They feel nice to the touch, para silang bakal. And it's a nice matte silver finish. And then less buttons for a cleaner aesthetic. And then they've removed a lot of the chrome trim here, and they've added these gunmetal, textured gunmetal, or these matte silver trims, and it really feels very sporty, very premium, and it looks very GTR to me, no? So yeah, a lot sportier, a lot nicer. The steering wheel is much nicer also. It's a more traditional 3-spoke design now with a round horn pad. It's leather as well, red contrast stitching to match the dash, and also the seats may red contrast stitching. There's the seats plus may konting white. Then they've stitched in these patterns here that look really nice, really modern. And then you have the Pro-4X badge embroidered here on the seat back. Very premium. And actually this interior really is a big upgrade from the previous generation. Now let's look at the back seats. Okay, now here at the back, as you can see, it's a little tight, it's a little cramped in here. So very vertical yung upo, no? Diretsong-diretso yung seat back. Tapos medyo sagad na halos yung tuhod ko dun sa harap. So the seat is set to my driving position. I'm 5'10", matabahan na 5'10", so baka kailangan nyo lagyan ng allowance, no, sa imagination nyo. So talagang medyo sagad dito. I don't really have the space to slouch or, you know, make myself comfortable here. But again, that's the reality of a pickup, and this is one of the smaller pickups in the market, so medyo mas masigip talaga siya, and you talagang kita mo na mas konti yung space, no? Anyway, you get a center armrest here, yan, and then you get 2 cup holders doon, and then you also have some cup holders in the pocket, in the door pockets, 1 on each side. Tapos dati lang may aircon vents yung Navara, no? But they've added these USB-C and USB-A ports should you need one or the other as a rear occupant. These seats also have ISOFIX points on them, so you can put a car seat in for your baby or your infant to make it a little more practical. Now, these seat backs don't fold down, but these seat bottoms do fold up. So sa ilalim nito, you get some under-seat storage, some small pockets there. And then kung wala kang pasahero, pwede mong iangat yung seat bottom, and you can use this space as onboard weather-sealed lockable storage. So now that we've seen the interior as a whole, it's time to go for a drive. Okay, so now we're out here in some sandy Lahar trails. I think this used to be a river, and this is the dried riverbed. Well, it's kind of wet still, you know. And with the all-terrain tires that come with the Pro-4X, a nice transfer case here that I can shift on the fly from 2H to 4H, or if I need it, I can go to 4L and lock the diff here. And stuff like this, slippery stuff like this, is really very easy for the Nissan Navara Pro-4X. Now, to get to what people really want to know, no, how is the ride quality off-road? So actually, sobrang maganda talaga yung ride quality, malambot talaga. if we were in another pickup truck na leaf sprung, lahat ng maliliit na bato, lahat mararamdaman mo yan sa loob eh. And you feel it with a certain amount of intensity inside na talagang it can be jarring, it can be tiring. With the Navara, no, it smoothens it out. So, nakakapasok sa loob yung mga vibrations, nakakapasok sa loob yung mga bumps, pero hindi mo siya sobrang ramdam. So, it dampens it a little. Hindi ka sobrang bugbog dito sa loob ng sasakyan, no? Ngayon, the Navara has quite a bit of electronics on board, yung mga active and passive safety systems. But unfortunately, it doesn't have anything in the way of, you know, off-road features. So, no terrain management system, no switchable na traction control system, no, hindi napapatay yung ABS. But you can turn off traction control, put it in 4H, and have your fun. Yun nga lang, you will be in charge. No, ikaw ang nag-iisip, ikaw ang dumidiskarte, ikaw ang mag-iingat na hindi ka mabalahaw. Yan, the steering is really nice. It gives you a lot of feedback. It has a nice weight to it without being jerky or without translating all the bumps into your hand, no? Minsan kasi yung mga ibang sometimes steering systems can be so reactive. So pag tumama ng bump, it'll tug on the wheel and you have to fight those forces. So with this one, di naman. So it's quite comfortable to drive even off-road. No, medyo magaan pa rin siya. Yun nga lang, medyo bitin yung kabig. And actually, dito hindi mo ma-feel dahil malawak yung kalye. Pero, pag let's say papasok ka ng drive-thru ng McDo, ng Jollibee, ganyan, yung buwelo mo nakala mo kaya na, you have to back up and then turn again. So, it's a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. So yeah, very capable off-roader this one. Wala tayong problema dito sa mga light trails na to. Ground clearance pala is around 220 millimeters. So it's not the tallest, again, that you can find. So the Ranger might be taller, the Hilux is a little taller. Maybe ang mas mababa sa kanya si Triton Athlete. But iba yung personality ng Triton Athlete eh. Yun. So something to keep in mind of, maybe if you really want to take this off-roading seriously off-road, you might need a lift kit and some bigger tires. Yan. So right now, I think we're gonna go on to some pavement naman, see what it's like on the road. Okay, so now we're out here in the city, and again, the ride is very composed, very plush. No, it's not as busy as a leaf-sprung pickup truck, and the difference is really noticeable. Hindi siya maliit na difference. It's not as jarring inside, it's not as jittery. So, of course, it's not gonna fool anyone to thinking that this is a sedan or crossover. No, it still feels like a truck. Pero in terms of comfort, it really does well to insulate you a little bit more. Whether may sakay yung likod mo, yung bed, or wala, the ride quality is still very, very good. Now, powering the Nissan Navara Pro-4X is still the YD25 diesel engine. It's turbocharged, and in this configuration, it's making about 188 horsepower, 190 PS, and 450 Newton meters of torque. Now, that hasn't changed since from before, and it's actually quite good naman. Yun nga lang, you hear a lot of it from the cabin. Medyo maingay siya from the cabin. It's not the quietest or the smoothest engine, but it has good power, it has good torque down low, and if you need to pick up speed on the highway, ganyan, you need to merge, it has more than enough power. Even if, again, it's slightly down on its competitors, yung mga class leaders have around 200, a little over 200. Ito 188, 190. But still, it's more than enough, especially kung wala namang karga sa likod. It's more than enough for your day-to-day needs. Ngayon, the transmission naman, it's made into a 7-speed automatic. And it hasn't changed from before either. And my chief complaint of this transmission is it likes to shift high up in the rev range. So, nag-aantay siya ng mga 1.8 to 2,000 bago siya mag-shift talaga. Even if you're feathering the throttle, being light on it, dun niya gusto mag-shift 1.8 to 2,000. So you always find yourself at maintenance throttle at 1.7, 1.8, ganyan. So like, yung mga ganitong instances where we're just cruising at the speed limit, 60, nasa 1.5 ka pa rin. Unlike most modern transmissions na will short shift at 1500 until you get to the highest possible gear na maintenance throttle mo is below 1500, 1250, ganyan. Because of that, fuel economy suffers a little bit. So the best we managed in the city was around 7.5. On the highway, it was 11. And I genuinely believe na kaya pa sanang maging mas matipid yung sasakyan na to kung sana the transmission was smarter, was a little more modern, I would say. Other than that, it's pretty smooth naman. Hindi mo naman siya masyadong na-feel na it's not jerky. You don't feel the shifts as much. Sometimes lang, when you let off the throttle and get back on it again, you feel that jerk. But it's nothing major. It's still very good transmission, yun lang. Just the shift logic is a little off to me. Okay, so now we're out on NLEX. And dito natin talaga magagamit yung mga driver aids ng Nissan Navara. So it has quite a few. No? So it has emergency braking, front collision warning. So if nadedetect nyo na you're not braking and you're getting too close to the car in front of you, it'll beep at you and then possibly brake for you if it has to intervene. Now it has lane departure warning, which I've turned off. And then it has blind spot monitor. So when you turn your signal lights on to merge into another lane, pag may katabi ka, like ito, it beeps and then it will flash the blind spot warning on your side mirrors. Ayan. And then it also has cross traffic alert if you're parking, ganyan, coming out of a spot, tapos may mga dumadaan, may cross traffic alert siya. And driver attention alert even. So it hasn't had to call my attention, so I don't really know when and how it works, but I'm assuming it's when you take your eye off the road, look away, or you're looking at your phone, it will probably beep at you, something like that. And then, yeah, it has cruise control as well. Yun nga lang, hindi siya adaptive. So it's your basic cruise control, which currently medyo maraming sasakyan. Medyo mahirap siyang gamitin kasi it doesn't follow the car in front of you, it doesn't brake for you. But yeah, at least may cruise control. Pag medyo maluwag yung kalye, you can just turn it on. Nakakatulong din. Now, as for brakes, no, the Navara has discs in front and drums in the rear. And on paper, that might seem like negative points for the Navara. But in practical situations, like right now, we're driving on the highway, you don't really feel the disadvantage of having drum brakes. It's not weak at all. It's good. There's good feedback. There's good initial bite. It's strong enough. Maybe in extreme situations, you might want the discs, but for these kinds of day-to-day driving, kanina off-road, we had no issues at all. So, important thing to note pala is the Navara doesn't have any drive modes, so no eco, no normal, no sport modes. So what I mentioned kanina na behavior ng transmission doesn't really change. There's no ability for you to change that, unlike in some other cars na eco mode, maybe it'll short shift for you. Sport mode, it'll hold gears for you. Dito walang no such options here. So it's actually a bit more basic if you're looking for a truck that's really more advanced, which has a lot more electronic features and stuff like that. Maybe you're better off looking elsewhere. But if you want something simple, something sturdy, something that's easy to live with, I think the Navara is a very excellent choice. So, like this highway, I can speak normally. I'm not speaking louder than I normally would. We're driving at 100, driving the speed limit right now, and it's fairly quiet, very comfortable. Wala naman masyadong wind noise. Minsan siguro when you go over 100, the roof rails whistle a little. But beyond that, it's barely noticeable. So, very, very comfortable talaga. Again, very soft and plush ride. So dito sa highway, kahit yung mga dugtungan ng mga road or ng mga tulay ganyan, it doesn't jar you so much. So it's one that's coming up here, so makikita niyo. And very gentle, very subtle. Yan. Okay, so now it's time to give our ratings of the Nissan Navara Pro-4X. So first up is performance. So this has 190 PS or about 188, 187 horsepower and 450 Newton meters of torque. So it's lagging a little behind the class leaders, which have over 200, but in day-to-day situations, you're never really going to feel the 10 to 15 horsepower difference. Yun nga lang, sadly, as I've mentioned earlier, the transmission is a little old school. It likes to shift too high up in the rev range at around 1900, 2000 RPM, and it really affects the fuel economy of this vehicle. And for that, I have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Now for handling, I guess to answer the question, is this really the best riding pickup truck in the segment today? The short answer is yes. It really rides softer, plusher, but it's still controlled, still very taut. The steering also is really nice. It's not that light. It's a little on the heavier side, but there's a lot of feel, a lot of feedback in it. Yung nga lang, medyo maliit yung kabig, no, medyo bitin. So, it earns an 8.5 out of 10. Alright, now for styling. So, Nissan has really done well to update the look of the Navara, and it looks really good. It's not overly, like, testosterone loaded, overly macho, but it's clean, it's elegant, and it really looks nice. So, I give it a 10 out of 10 when it comes to styling. Now for utility. Pickup trucks are inherently practical. They are, after all, utility vehicles. But again, as I've mentioned earlier, this is one of the smallest pickups in the segment right now. So the bed is smaller than its competitors in the segment. Also, the bed is a fairly simple bed. There's nothing much in the way of creature comforts or ease of use features there. So I have to give it an 8 out of 10. Now for value for money. Now, this Nissan Navara Pro-4X is priced at 2,220,000 pesos. It used to be around 1.85 million pesos before the tax, but it still remains to be one of the most affordable ways into a top-of-the-line 4x4 pickup truck. However, no, it does, again, lack some features. It's not that advanced when it comes to driver aids, when it comes to electronics, when it comes to the bed even. No, it's also a little smaller, but then again, it charges you the right amount of money for what it is. So for value for money, I still have to give it a 9 out of 10. So for the overall rating, the Nissan Navara is still a very practical, very usable pickup truck. Given its size, it's not that intimidating to drive. It's not that hard to use in the city, to park in malls, to park in office buildings and stuff like that. So you can really use it every day, anywhere, and then you can, with the 4x4, you can take it to places like this, to trails, to overlanding trips, to your adventures. It's just an all-around pickup truck. And again, this is the most affordable way into a top-of-the-line 4x4 pickup from the more established manufacturers. And for that, I have to give it an overall rating of 8.5 out of 10. So that wraps up our first ride review of the Nissan Navara Pro-4X. If you like this content, please make sure to leave us a like down below. Leave us a comment if you think we got it wrong, we got it right. What did you like about our video? We'd like to hear from you. Visit rideby.ph/garage for the full written review of this car. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.